Restoring men in history. Restore men today. Happiness, goals. We want you men to achieve what you want in life and be happy. And after all, June is what? National Men's Health Month, right? But men, goals, happiness. And we'll start, and I went through some clips. We have experiences with men in the groups, goals, happiness. Let's start off, though, with Jordan Peterson in this clip.
What sort of life would you have to have so that you could bear your suffering nobly? That's a good question to ask yourself. Now, and so we have people just write for 15 minutes. If you could have what you wanted, needed, what might that look like? And there's an instruction there too, is do it badly. Because what the hell do you know? And besides, your vision's going to change as you progress through your life. And so you're not going to get it done perfectly, but that's okay. Get it down. Get a rough first draft down, right? A rough approximation of who you could be if you got your act together. Not who other people think you should be, you know? Although that might enter into it because you don't want to be completely... You can't be who you are properly and ignore the fact that you're embedded in a social context. And so you have to take the fact that there are other people into account. And it doesn't mean be who your parents think you should be either, even though that's another source of information that you might want to consider. It's a deeper question. It's like, what would actually motivate you? And you might think, well, I could never have that. It's like, that's not the question that's being addressed here. Although I would say, there's no sense floating off into some kind of impossible juvenile fantasy. And we're making an assumption that you're taking the question seriously and that you're going to remain within the bounds of what you regard as sanely reasonable.
So I like his opening question. What sort of life would you have to have if you could bear your suffering nobly? I like that line. And the exercise of writing things out. We write out goals, purpose, we write out gratitude, we write out many things in RMH, but I like to write out my goals. The why too, by the way, I do. Constantly and adjust it. And I think it's a good exercise for you men to do. If you like our mission, please subscribe, hit the notification button, and like. So he wants you to write out something, and RMH has you write out. He wants you to have a written plan. You can change them later. He says, don't get caught up on it being perfect. We say that RMH, don't get caught up in it being perfect, right? Just get to it, get to taking action. And he says that as well here. We just want you to do it. What is it? What is your vision for your life? Where do you want to be in 5 years? What's the why behind it? What do you want to be better at? What do you want to do better? Write out goals. Purpose, too, we like at RMH. He's not talking about that here, but purpose. Where do you want to be in 5 years? You can change it. Don't let it become perfection. What sort of life would you like to have? And he talks about this. If you could have what you want and need, right? So there's another book I'm reading that talks about needs. But anyway, do you know what you want and need? Where would you like your life to be in 5 years? Think of what you could accomplish if you set your mind to it, if you thought about 5-year increments or even 2-year increments. Think of how much you could get done in the next 5 years if you commit to it. What would motivate you? Reasonable and sane goals he talks about here, right? In that clip we just showed. Vision can change, he says. Just write it down, gentlemen. Character in life, 15 minutes. Do this exercise. Write down how you see your life, how you imagine it. Imagine what it could be, what you could make it if you take actions, if you commit to goals. Personal, professional goals, health goals, strength. Where do you want to be in the gym? Write down all the goals possible. What kind of woman do you want to meet? You could. That's a whole nother video. Let's don't get into that. Okay, let's take a look at clip number 2.
What does happy mean? And you might think, well, happy means getting what you want. Happy is how you feel after Christmas dinner. It's like, no, that's asleep, right? That's content and asleep. Now, that's a form of contentment, but it isn't really what people mean when they say that they want to be happy. The happiness that people refer to when they talk about happiness has more to do with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is an interesting word because it means it's entheos. It means to be inspired. Inspired is in spirit. It means to be imbued with the Spirit. Well, enthusiastic is to be imbued with the Spirit of God, interestingly enough. And we'll return to that. When do you experience the positive emotion that's associated with happiness? The answer is not when you've attained a goal, but when you're pursuing one. So you're set up, your positive emotion is associated with movement forward. You could say that your positive emotion is the psychological equivalent of forward movement, just as your negative emotion is the psychological equivalent of freezing or retreating. And so your emotions are very tightly tied to your action. Freeze, retreat, negative. Advance towards a goal, positive. No goal, no positive emotion. Now, if you don't remember anything else from tonight, that's a good thing to remember. No goal, no positive emotion. A corollary of that as well is no goal, confusion. So no goal not only means no positive emotion, it also means confusion, and confusion means anxiety and dread. And so a life without a goal is confusing and hopeless.
So he talks about happiness. What is it? Have you considered what happiness is for your life? And you're going to have to figure this out and write it down. And you're going to have to choose. But what's he talking about? And of course, Aristotle, ethics, talks about what is happiness, and we need to do that as well. But let's stay with our experiences in Jordan Peterson today. And another day we'll do Aristotle. Happiness, he says, has to do with what? Happiness has to do, and I love this, with enthusiasm. And I do like this one and believe it. Imbued with the Spirit, he says. So this rings true with me for sure. And some of the men I've talked to in the groups, it rings true with. When I reflect and consider and think about them. Who's happy? When do you experience the positive emotions? So think right now, when do you experience the positive emotions that is associated with happiness? Here's a key. Talks about that, and we agree with it. The answer is not when you have attained a goal, right? Think about when you attain a goal real quickly, rapidly in your mind. Think about right now when you have attained a goal. Is that when you're happy? I know when I've attained a goal. But what? For me, it's when you're pursuing a girl, pursuing a goal, not a girl. When you're pursuing a goal and you write it down on a piece of paper, and I've got a bunch of goals, I write them down, boom, boom, boom. And it's when we're pursuing and taking action toward that goal that gives me happiness. And that's why I found this clip, because I wanted to talk about goals and happiness today for men. And I'm happier when I'm pursuing goals and I write them down. And I have a big list of the next goals to go after, so we'll never run out. So there will always be something to attain. I also like having a purpose, and it drives me, and a big why. Why am I doing this? But I want to stress this one. You can write them down, reflect upon them, and go back over and write them down and again until it gets in your head, until you're thinking about it much of the time. So having goals can make you happier. What else can make you happy? Well, Aristotle says this one, so we're included, and it's been my experience in life for me, and maybe it will be different for you, but having good friends where you can have deep conversations with them about all kinds of topics, and deep conversations about philosophy, politics, life, history, with the same values and virtues, and perhaps even pursue goals together. Now that gives me a great degree of happiness. If you have a bad deals, or something is going awry with your girl or within business, and you have good friends, that can give you balance and a different kind of happiness. And it can be part of your goals, right? Because if one of your goals is to build deep male friendships, then you can execute that goal even if a deal is falling apart, right? So, a good cigar and a good friend and deep conversation can also bring me happiness. Now, let's go back to Jordan Peterson. On goals, he says, a positive emotion associated with moving forward. And I find that to be true. I get happy when moving forward in goals. I like seeing the forward movement, like taking action steps, knowing that we're getting closer to the goals, and feel good and happy when taking action. Knowing each action will take you closer to your goal, will take you closer to achieving your purpose in life. And men need a purpose. We always talk about this, but today we're focused on goals, so let's stay on that. Personal goals, professional goals, growth goals. You might be a person who values growth, and Anthony Robbins goes through this system. We're not going to go into it, but anyway, if you're a person who loves growth, you may love reading books and having deep conversations that increase your growth, right? That's a growth goal, or building skills, or taking martial arts. So that kind of growth. You may love building strength in the gym, a different kind of growth, and a different kind of goal for health. A major goal could be building one friendship deeper each month. So you go smoke a cigar and have a deep conversation with that gentleman each month, putting time, energy into that friendship. Building your business and how. What are you writing down to pursue? What are you trying to attain? And how are you going to get it? You can also use the other goal we talked about. Are you going to make it measurable and specific? Are you going to have an accountability partner? How are you going to achieve these goals? Are you going to go over it with that friendship once in a while and go over his goals at that friendship meeting once in a while so you hold each other accountable? Is it timely, relevant? Can you achieve it? Right? And he talks about that here too. Don't make it preposterous. Ensure that you can achieve it. Emotions are tied to action. Now, the opposite is, he says, what? What did he say earlier? There's a negative part too, right? Freeze or retreat. Negative, so that could be a negative emotion that could hold you back, he says, and he goes into talking about that, right? And we've met men in the groups, and they've discussed with me, and they've said this, I'm scared to do this, right? That's okay. That's understandable, right? There's a security to certain jobs. But you can meet a guy at a cigar bar, and he can say, well, I hate my job, but I like having that, and I don't really want to take a risk and start a business. That's fine too. Maybe he doesn't want to start a risk. That's fine. But Jordan Peterson says, that can hold you back. And you might be in the same place 10 years from now. Do you want to be that? So there's a cost to that, right? He also says advance toward your goal. And he says this, if you don't remember anything else, and remember this is a great one. If you don't remember anything else, remember this one. No goal, no positive emotion. Corollary is no goal, and I agree with this, confusion. Makes sense, right? If you don't have a goal, there's confusion. I know this is true because I've talked to many men at cigar bars who say, I just wish I could find out what I'm supposed to do in life. I wish I knew what I was supposed to do in life. I wish I had a purpose. They don't even say it that way. They say, I wish I knew what I wanted to do. I wish I knew what I wanted to do. Some of them. And what else do you say about confusion? What does it bring on? Anxiety, dread, and I've seen that, and that's been reflected back to me and talked to me back to from men. Remember, we've had a lot of men go through the groups, and a lot of men I've smoked cigars with. So, I've heard many people say, I just don't know what to do with my life. I just don't know what I want. So they don't have a goal. Goals mean direction. Direction can produce happiness, right? And they even tell me they're anxious about it. So they say, I wish I had direction. I wish I had a goal. You can choose that today. You can write it down and have a goal and direction. So have I seen that reflected? Yes. Let's take a couple of guys, and we won't do all the guys, just a couple. Let's take Kurt. Kurt is a driven, ambitious guy who has, this is the important thing, is Kurt happy? Yes. Does he have goals? Yes. Does he have friendship? Yes. He takes action. He knows what he wants, and he's going after it. In fact, I call him Mr. Perseverance, Kurt. So he doesn't just talk about it, and nothing knocks him down. He keeps going and going and going. He never gives in. He never quits. Now, his goals are to produce films. He's optioned properties, trying to produce these films, and he will. And constantly since I've known him, he's greatly impressed me because of his resilience, and he never gives in. And he's a happy guy, right? He has happiness, right? So he has his goals. He takes action on them. He knows where he's going. He knows what he wants, producing films, TV, and he takes action on it. That's one part. What else does Kurt have? Well, he comes to the men's group. He's in the men's group every month. He was in 2 men's group. He came to the mixed and the men's for years and years. Started at the beginning, been in for years and years and years. We've developed a great friendship. So he has friendship. He has camaraderie in the groups. He has goals. He got his RMH patch. I'm not wearing mine, but anyway, we awarded him his RMH pass. Why? Well, for consistency, for his passion, for his dedication, commitment. We have a little Latin saying, do what you say. Kurt does what he says. He's a great man. He has the manly virtue of resilience. We're not going to go through the virtues right now. We're mainly talking about Kurt has happiness, friends, a romantic relationship with a woman. So he's got it kind of balanced in it all, right? Romantic relationship with a woman, male friendship, camaraderie in the men's groups for years and years and years. He has a commitment. He does what he says. So who else is another? Well, we'll just pick one more guy. But what about Jeff? Jeff has happiness, and he has some of the similar qualities, right? He has a wife that he has a great relationship with, right? But this is more focused on goals and happiness and friends. What does Jeff have? He has friends. He's been in the men's group years and years. By the way, Kurt's been to 3 men's conferences in the ball. Jeff's been to 3 men's conferences in the ball. Jeff got his RMH patch, the patch that goes on the blazer. He earned it. So what else does Jeff have? He writes his goals down. He's got a clear path. He's got a clear why, Jeff does. He's also building a production company to produce films. And that's his passion, films. And he has a big why behind it, right? So there's 2 guys that have happiness, and I believe they're balanced. They have male friendship, and they have goals written down on a piece of paper that they drive at all the time. And both these gentlemen are fantastic. Jeff's also committed and passionate about the groups. Now, one more thing I'm going to talk about is, do you have a why behind it? You don't have to. You can. Some of us have major whys behind why we're doing things, and that can drive you and motivate you. So what motivates you? Do you have a larger purpose than yourself that you're driving at? You can or cannot. You just need goals written down. What motivates you? Are you trying to produce a small change in the world? Large change? Small change in a small group of people? Again, that's up to you, but a big why might help motivate you. Why are you doing it? Peterson says, life without a goal is confusing and hopeless. Hopeless, pretty big word. You got a lot of men in depression right now without a purpose. So I do believe that is true for many. I've heard it. A lot of men come through these groups. So he says, you wrote for 15 minutes of vision for your life. Move forward. It sets up a condition, a mindset, right? What else do you need to motivate you? Negative emotion can stop you. We agree with that. We've seen it. Now, he says this, if you don't make the change, what's the cost of that? What's the risk of that? How do you see your life in 10 years? I believe we went into that. You hate your job, but you don't want to change because you don't want to take a risk. Understandable, he says, and we understand that. But he says the man starts to shrink. And we want you guys to increase, not shrink. So Peterson says, create that vision, right? You got the vision of what you want in 5, 10 years that we just talked about. If you do the positive steps and you hit those goals like Jeff and Kurt, you can go that direction and enlarge as a man. Or if you have the vision that you stay at something miserable that you hate, will it shrink you? What's the vision of that? Where will you be in 5 years if you go that path versus 5 years of the Kurt Jeff path? What's the cost in that? What will happen to you? You'll be in the same situation if you go this way 5 years, right? If you go the Kurt Jeff situation, you're going to learn, grow, increase, right? All right, let's wrap this up. Write out your needs and wants. Write out what you want and need in your life. Write out your why. Write out your goals. Also, I think a good exercise is to keep track of what's making you happy and make notes on that. Have good male friends. Get in a group of men. Take action. Pursue your goals, gentlemen. Thank you. If you like this message, please like, comment, and hit the notification button and subscribe. Appreciate it.